Vikings Valhalla looks like Vikings. It feels like Vikings. It tastes like my monitor. This show has grasped the attention of millions and has a history and its own legacy in the minds of those people. Valhalla promises to return us to those open, stormy seas, the backstabbing politics in the streets of Kattegat, the clash of armies in the fields of England. But this time it has a new saga, a new era with new characters and a new history to tell. So what is that history? Let's start with a light overview. So on the timeline, it's about the 11th century and we're about 100 years where we left off. We already see the end of the age of Vikings, where the distinction between Christians, Norse, the Vikings, the English are slowly beginning to blur. Kattegat is larger and even more significant of a trading port, led by a new face, Harald Hardrada. I formally retract the pronunciation of this name. Please do not believe me in the comments. Another strong woman at the head of Kattegat, so no surprises there. At this point, Vikings have overrun most of England, and it's in even more turmoil after the death of their king, heading them into a domestic conflict between three ambitious lords hoping to gain the throne. Normandy, the Viking land founded by Rollo from its deal with Francia, will now play a bigger role in the region. Oh, and it's got some descendant of Rollo. What was his name? Willie? Big W? Oh, William the Conqueror. Don't worry though, it doesn't sound important. Culturally, groups of mixed faith Vikings are becoming more the norm, like Harald Hardrada, a Viking berserker with followers of Odin and the Christian god under him. It is to this new, strange Viking world that our main cast and story arrive, as outsiders in Kattegat. Leif Erikson and his family are a mixed bunch raised on the fringes of the known world in Greenland, so they've been isolated somewhat from the changes of the last century. As you can imagine, this has made his family quite tight-knit and steeped in old pagan beliefs, which explains a lot about Leif's sister Freydís, who is described as a notably fierce pagan and potentially a new leader in Kattegat. And it's this strange family that will bring us into the new world of Vikings. And with the world ready for another big shake-up, it's not that bad of a setting for an excellent Viking saga. So knowing what we're walking into, let's look at this teaser.
You captained your boat all the way from Greenland. Who are you? I'm Leif.
So immediately we're drawn to the clear parallels to Uber. Not only the fact that they hail from Greenland, but they have that explorer spirit. Leif seems to be the kind of character who's not only willing to throw himself and his family into the great depths of the sea, but he has the skills to make it out alive, which we saw from Uber's story isn't always so easy. I do also like the design of the character, the hastily cut slab of wool over his shoulders. It really tells us a lot about the kind of rugged living people are used to in Greenland, and hopefully that shapes the personality of the main family and helps spice up their role as outsiders in the story.
Then why are you here?
I want to see if this fight you talk about is mine.
Now the dialogue here is quite interesting. Leif has clearly been enticed to come to Kattegat by some recruitment or spreading of word of some fight to come, possibly even some lucrative raid against England. So he's very new to any kind of life outside of Greenland, and these two first shots really show us that, as Leif is kind of getting his first exposure to the unique, intense, bustling atmosphere only found in the really large cities. I feel having characters out of their element and unfamiliar with the goings-ons of Kattegat will help us a lot in getting to grips with the current state of things. As Leif learns more about the opportunities like the fight we alluded to, we will also learn right alongside him. I did also love the shot of him looking really confused and out of place as this English soldier just gets run through right in front of him. And I'm pretty sure that absolute unit of a man is our berserker friend Harald Hardrada, so he might be quite a large part of the series.
Change is happening, and we must be ready.
So here we get to see the full hodgepodge family with any scrap of fur they could find plastered on them somewhere. And we get to see the shot of a cross-like scar on Freydís' back, Leif's sister, which could be a very visual representation of her past with Christianity and a sign of the path that she will embark on over the show.
The Vikings are still one people.
So a couple interesting things in this part. First off, we hear the voice saying, "The Vikings are still one people," which funnily enough shows us it's probably not the case. There's no real reason to try rally people together if they're already unified, showing that over time many Scandinavian factions may have splintered up, which to anyone who followed the original series is no surprise whatsoever. Infighting is a specialty of the Scandinavian folk. We get a quick appearance of the Sword of Kings, the blade that both Björn and Ragnar held in their times as king. A shard of what appears to be a symbol of Odin burning, which could be part of some Norse ritual or, more perversely, a deconversion thing as Vikings become Christians. And most significantly, we see Freydís all armored up in a very Lagertha way, if I may say so myself, possibly in some hot-headed confrontation with a Christian who offended her, and they're dueling it out in some town square. Well, I don't know, but that sounds fun. Regardless, I think she'll be quick to make waves in Kattegat.
Now is our time to make history.
Our time to make history. Now that sounds a lot like a joke poking fun at the fact that the original series was produced by the History Channel, but it also doubly works to point out the fact that the sagas of the previous generation of mythic Viking heroes is over. It finished with the other show, and now it's time we see a new story, and a new era. How fun. So Vikings Valhalla, what do you think?